Thank you so much. Post-lunch sessions are always very difficult to moderate. But yeah, it's good to see you all awake with us. And I hope you're as excited as we all are. Um, it's a very proud moment for me to be a part of this discussion, which talks about women leadership in this always changing, very rapidly moving digital landscape. It's an honor to be with two prominent role models who are not just known for their achievements in their field of work, but also for bringing in innovation and diversity in the digital ecosystem, right? I'm very excited and I'm looking forward to this thought-provoking session. I'll start with Kanchan. As a founder, as a CEO of a tech-driven organization, what are the challenges you have come across? How have you navigated through these challenges to become the person, and I'm saying a person not just from a perspective of your profile, but to become a person who you are today?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sangeeta. Before that, I'll just quickly introduce you okay with that?
Sure.
So, as you know, my name is Kanchan. So I have over two decades of experience into digital and customer experience. I have a company called Zikr. It's an Urdu word, which you know is to mention and talk. And what we do is we have a customer experience management tool, and it's a pure tech company that we have over here. So that's what I do today, and to now answer your question, Sangeeta. It's been a long journey. Like I said, it's a 2 decades of journey. And looking back, as I reflect, I think it's very important to have ambition. That's what has led me further. Ambition for something that you want to count yourself when you look back, say after 50 years or 40 years, and you say, what have I done? So that's what has taken me through a lot of challenges. And I know this is a space which is difficult because it is very men-oriented space. We all know about that. But still, if you hold yourself accountable to and believe yourself in, I know I'm getting a little philosophical here, but that's what takes you ahead in life, right? So we'll talk about all the challenges. I think women do face a lot of challenges, and we all know about that. But there are ways and methods to navigate it, and there are ways we need to support it, we need to enable it. So we'll talk through that.
Sure. We would also like to talk about some of the stereotype probably which you would have faced, because typically tech, a lot of people say, is a male-dominated industry. But coming back to, yes, that is why I raised that point. So you are a senior counsel, and you have so much of experience. What are the attributes you feel women leaders bring on the table to create a very ethical work environment in terms of the legal frameworks, in terms of that, governance and all of that? What are the attributes you think women leaders bring on the table?
I think leaders bring attributes, especially in a very dynamic, changing environment. We moved from manufacturing, which by the way was much more.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. I always forget. Sorry about that. Hi. Yeah. So, for example, manufacturing, which was actually my first general counsel space, was manufacturing, are actually men-dominated spaces, or have been. What I am amazed by is that the potential in digital to not be so is so much greater.
You're right.
Because there is a certain neutrality and flatness to things that didn't exist earlier, like long working hours, physically challenging, were seen at one point to be, till of course we transcended those. Leadership by itself is, in today's day and age, I feel, really enhanced and articulated in collaboration, in empathy, in diversity. And today, it just so happens it is the digital world, but these three are the bastion of the feminine. So it's not really about women and men. It's about understanding what feminine attributes are. And feminine, what I mean is the ability to grow something, the ability to birth something. And things like compassion, collaboration, they're not just words. They actually make for great leaders. in today's
Right.
world. And that's why women bring that. And in today's world, your question was, I really liked it. What is it that you bring? Because I work in a lawmaking area. In a very dynamic, very speedy space, these three are literally the most grounding aspects that allow you to navigate very fast-moving spaces. And I think you need a lot more women because they bring this to the core immediately.
Yeah. But since you started mentioning about leadership, which is not like, I think you came from a very gender neutral thought process, which is great. Was that so or no?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I feel in order to be able to highlight
Yeah.
exceptional attributes
Yeah.
of both the genders,
Yeah.
when you understand the genders, you can highlight it much better. So
Absolutely.
that's where I came from.
Absolutely.
I'm
No.
sure there are many, many males
Yeah.
who have the ability to encompass feminine stereotypes,
Absolutely, yeah.
such as empathy, collaboration, diversity, and when they do, they shine, and when they don't, maybe they should make some space for more women, and we'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I think there is this, when you mentioned about stereotypes, there is this implicit bias, right, to say where, it says in tech, specifically in tech industry and in leadership profiles, that probably women are not cut for it. Somewhere, I'm being a little prime. It's an implicit, unconscious or, unspoken or spoken. I think people are talking about it a lot. But I think there has to be a lot more done over here, both sides, I would say, both the women as well as the community at large, everyone, in terms of ensuring this gap is bridged somehow. And for that, I would say there's more effort, like, we've read this book, Lean In, right? We all know about it. And the whole point that was made there was that, we have to come forward for the opportunities. We have to be problem solving, step forward, have that ambition, have that goals in our mind, which are not optional. That's important. I think as society, when we look at men and women, performance or progress or growth is optional for women somehow, but for men it is mandatory. When it's mandatory, there's a lot of pull and push that happens from everywhere to make you really grow, right? But for women, it is optional. So who is to make it mandatory? It's for us and it's for the other side also to say, no, it's no longer optional. You should stand up for yourself and you should progress and make some mark somewhere. So I'm not saying that doing things apart professionally is not countable. It is there. We know we do a lot of work there. At the same time, when you're looking ahead a couple of decades, how do you see yourself? It's very important.
That's great. Since we spoke about barriers and stereotype both, Sibani, what role do you think mentorship or sponsorship can actually help in nurturing women leaders? Since, when we were talking, you also mentioned that you take sessions in universities, so which means we are trying to kind of train young students, and I'm not talking about young women or men. So how do you think mentorship can help these people to become good leaders in future?
I'm so happy that mentorship is now a formal space. We're just talking women here right now.
Yeah,
Okay,
actually.
that's fair enough, and it's a good thing. Women have been in self-mentoring spaces since time immemorial. I mean, even in roles earlier, when you are learning something as basic as how you present yourself or how you engage with plants, animals, everything else, you do look up to your mothers and your grandmothers and so on and so forth. Mentorship is not about replacing mothers and grandmothers. It's really about understanding the value of unspoken learnings and leanings that can be passed on to people, number one. Number two, which is much bigger, is we live in a very crowded space.
Yeah.
There is so much information and so many people that aligning yourself or looking towards a mentor or looking to mentor allows there to be trees to be planted that give fruits to many more people than just one. When we mentor in succession. So I can be sometimes very obvious, but that's because I'm a teacher, so I can be a bit pedantic. It's really funny, we're speaking here, it's a very small room. and 3 of my colleagues are here, which is very kind of them. I don't know if they're here in support or because we've had a good exchange in mentoring each other. Mentorship doesn't, in my eyes, work in one direction only. Yes, mentoring works in one direction, where you are accountable for what you say, accountable for how you lead, accountable for how you lead with example. Yeah. But it also works in a community setup, and it's a non-negotiable today. It's a very large space. It's crowded. You can look up to many people. You can base yourself on people. However, that doesn't lead to mentorship. Mentorship is the small things that your mother and your grandmother told you. Your mentor gives you things that don't exist in the market. And they are already in that space, so they come to it with the experience of not being just dejected, how to overcome a hurdle. And all of those we learn from practice. Yeah. So, in fact, I work with 2 formal mentorship groups. I mentor informally, irrespective. And the reason of offering that time was it was more valuable than a recommendation, and it was more valuable than even the teaching platform. I mean, I work with a number of people, and like I said, I'm quite gender unbiased, but if you actually spoke to my teams, they'd tell you I hang out with the girls, which is great. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, if I may add on the sponsorship bit. So what I've seen professionally when you're working out and making your careers ahead, it's important to have a sponsor. It's really important to have that. A sponsor who believes in you, supports you, gives you the right guidance for your growth and trajectory ahead. And this could be even, like she said, there are formal spaces for it. It can be informal also in a way that, somebody who knows you, your inherent strengths, your passions, your goals, all of that in life. So it can be in your company, it can be outside your company. That doesn't really matter. But what really matters is, they align with your goals ahead. So it's really great to have sponsors, and we should have more sponsors, because looking at the industry trend today, if you look at it, there are not many women leaders in this tech space which have really made a mark. They are. It's really great to see now they are. And but the whole point is that you may not find so many mentors around or role models for yourselves. So then who do you look for? So you need to have people who can back you, who can move you forward. And it doesn't mean you can't succeed without it, but it's always good to have, is what I would recommend.
Add on.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I see it. We were having some conversations since my panel topics were changed a couple of times. I said, let me just interview a couple, talk to a few people. There are a lot of mentors, actually. Not the problem, but let's recognize this. There are about 11 to 12 women and 11 to 12 men in this room. Women in achievement and success do not broadcast it. It's not their natural tendency. So the ability to share, not just the win, but also the portions, the experience of the win, and what it takes to win, or open the door and show you other avenues, doesn't come as much as it does. Open the 40 under 40. Yeah. Yes, there are many women there. Open the 50 under 50 or 50 over, there's many things going on. But to talk about it really simply, there are actually an exceptional number of women out there. Yeah. Have you put your story out enough?
Not really.
So we're going to start with you.
Okay.
I'm going to interview you very
Sure.
soon. When we put our stories out, actually a colleague of mine who still works with me, he told me, he said, my God, the amount you've done, I don't even think you talk about it. We are as guilty because we're not conditioned towards it. We're not conditioned to create resumes every evening. We don't come home and talk about awards, and we don't talk about how we got there. Women have the most exceptional stories. So the mentorships, there are many mentors. There are possibilities of many sponsors. Women as a habit don't even go and ask for sponsorship.
Yeah. No, sure. No, I totally agree with that. I think there's a lot of hidden gems. We need to take that out. I think that's what you're suggesting. At the same time, what I was really referring was specifically in tech space. We do have a lot of leadership, business, financials, and, a lot of those role models out there. When you say a superstar in tech, specifically in tech, then there is still, we're not still cutting that parity bar in terms of, where we should be. So there's a lot of push that's required. And that's where I was doing some analysis with a lot of leaders over here. I was asking them a couple of questions like, what is your entry level parity? Okay, what's your tech level parity? What's your leadership level, senior leadership level parity? So the number keeps falling down, and it's a drastic. They'll say, okay, my entry level is 50%, but in a tech it would be 10, 20. That's how it is. So, and in leadership, it'll be again, something there. What are the challenges? Then it's difficult to go back and say what are the challenges, because it's
I
lost.
think it's not just about talking about the success or win. It is also important for women to put out their journey. So I think we hesitate and we don't talk about our journey as much as we should, because that is also sharing the experience. Right.
No, I agree with that totally.
And just another thing, just adding on to
Yeah,
Lot's
yeah.
question. You see, we now live in a time where you can optimize utilizing talent. You can optimize it.
Yeah.
There is no guarantee that a man, woman, X, Y will do this better. There are times when, oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
You don't leave it.
Don't even.
Yeah.
Being recorded and it will be uploaded on YouTube. So this is for a wider audience. You are going to inspire a lot of other women other than this room.
Okay, thanks. That's not frightening at all. Sure. Okay. Sure. So one of the things that, this is an observation. When you look at how do you expand this? Can you formalize? Yes, formalize mentorship, formalize sponsorship. Look at transparent hiring policies. Much more important than that, broad-based career progression. I've done a lot of, as they're called, marriages, and I mean, corporate marriages.
Yeah.
When teams change and you change, you start realizing that there is no idea on where you want to go. Now, there is no definite career path. No HR is going to do that for you. But they have enough play to understand stories of women, how do they fit in, what is the possibilities. It's a two-way track. And yes, the responsibility now is on all of us as founders, on all of us as professionals, all of us participating and setting up companies, to allow for such policies to now promulgate amongst industry. Various things. And transparency, career progression. People don't have an idea where all they can go. That's the beginning. Where all can you go?
The potential
It's
and the,
very
yeah.
vast.
So, we spoke about mentorship and sponsorship as far as nurturing talent of future women leaders is concerned. But how do you think the existing women leaders from different walks of life, so you have, let's say, tech experience, you are a senior counsel, I come from, let's say, a digital media background, how women leaders can collaborate together to make an impact in this digital ecosystem? So I'm not saying nurturing just women leaders, but the overall ecosystem in general. Any of you?
Yeah, I think that falls into forming communities of interest, specifically maybe, AI. It touches everything. I'm just throwing an idea out. And there could be many such, but at the same time, it also has to be organization driven in some way, while, it can be community led. Why I say organization driven is then it comes into your mandate in one form or the other, right? For example, driving inclusive growth, right? And you are saying, okay, I need to do that and I'm championing this. Then what are the things that I'm doing to bring multiple, different industry segments into it, and how I'm folding it together and leading this effort ahead. At the same time, there could be very interesting opportunities that can come through. You can attract talent through that. You can nurture talent through that. So in itself, the organization is also going to learn and adapt basis on, what they need to do to grow further in this area. There are a lot of such initiatives happening, specifically in tech, like the hackathons which are happening. I think there are lots specifically focused on women for hiring and all of that. There are also other such initiatives in terms of driving inclusive growth, saying that, okay, we're going to mandate X percentage of women in the leadership roles and all of that. But that will only happen when, we'll grow women in the community, like as leaders, and champion that cause and take it further. So more and more, I think, drive and push that comes from the organization, the industry leaders, into saying that, yes, we want women as leaders, we want women in the tech. I think people will see opportunities and come together and take this ahead. Yeah.
uh, alike. Also, this last 2 decades has given rise to a lot of women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And that's another interesting place in which to nurture leadership. Because after an entrepreneur is a leader, they're setting out on their own to set up shop. And one of the cohorts, I work with a couple of them, but one of them is called Sonder Connect. And the real meaning was, it started as a women's, but because I'm so gender neutral, I was like, I think let's call everybody to this party and don't worry, there'll be more women than men. It's true. As it turns out, women are ready to collaborate faster, much faster. And things like this, which are cross-profession and cross-sectional, allow us to get support. So it's not looking for a formal mentor. So for example, Sonder has a number of professionals. I'm a lawyer, a negotiator, plus a coach on that. And you can come to a common person that understands and that helps you bridge your experiences. So you're in a cohort that's very large, and you can also lean on them for things that, when you're the first time entrepreneur, when you're coming out of, say, motherhood, young motherhood, or not motherhood, just changing lanes into different professions, you're not entirely sped into HR, accounting, advertising, many of the other mundane but otherwise administrative things you need. Having potential catchment areas that can support women leaders as well as women entrepreneurs, it's worked great. It's had great results. Because you come to a common, say an accounting person, he knows the problems of a medium to small entrepreneur. They are supporting you. You're supporting each other immediately with your experiences. So that was
is
a
collaboration.
successful, and there was a successful use of a cohort. It wasn't just to inspire. We do one big thing a year, ignition, like we ignite, so that people can share their experiences. But what comes out of it is shared resources. Shared resources, no one is better than the feminine to know that. They run kitchens on 15 rupees, so no one actually does it better. And allowing women to shine with their inherent capacities and allowing other people to watch them do it is very inspiring.
Yeah.
And it's a ready resource. So that's one of the things.
Great, yeah, great insight. I'm going to now pick up the pace and treat it like rapid fire round without Karan Johar.
Oh my God.
But
We're going to have the hamper too? No hamper? Okay.
organizers have disappeared. Okay, great. So, quick one. If you could implement one change to empower women in India's digital and tech ecosystem, what would it be? Both of you. One.
I think some government policy. That's how I see it.
I think broadcasting women's success more and allowing them to become change makers, as in recognizing them as change makers.
Yeah.
So putting out their story.
Right.
Yeah.
Recognizing.
And I'm saying only for the tech
Yeah.
part. I'm
Yeah.
not saying for the general part.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason I'm saying is there's a
Yeah.
lot of women entrepreneur push in the rural areas, which is
Yes.
great through the government. It's working very well.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Why not do it for the tech?
Understood. Yeah. Another one. What would your advice be to young women who are aspiring to lead in the digital ecosystem? Particularly, a lot of people think it's a very high pressure environment. So what would be your advice? One advice, both of you.
Be brave, collect a gang.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll say be really ambitious. It's a fantastic world you will get into and you'll not regret.
Great. So on that note, now the forum is open to the audience. It would be great to have your perspective. I mean, if you have any questions, great. If not, we would love to hear from you, your thoughts. Any one of you?
Any questions from
Any
anyone?
questions?
Hi, nice perspective both of you are giving to us. So basically I wanted to understand, so first of all I'll give you a little background of mine. So I'm a CTO at a small startup. Yes. So now the day-to-day problem for me is to, bring empathy to the table while maintaining the team's ROI and the performance, right? And where we should actually lie and where should be the right transaction actually. How to bring the right performance with the empathy, and that too from men's.
I think I'm going to take a shot at this. Inviting people to the table and allowing them to do rapid fire, at least inputs. No, inputs.
Yeah.
allows you to construct your empathy. It's a very funny thing to say. Empathy is a natural thing. It comes from within. But when we speak on the same table, and people that are you're still inviting into empathy, when they're on the table, when they're talking and they're seeing other people's input, it's a very natural invitation to empathy. You can try it.
But what about the performance then? I mean, that is something that is a attribute that we all
Your performance
wanted
is
to measure.
always your North Star and your boundary. You see, you're not measuring them on empathy, but you're asking for the empathy in order to reach your performance. Got to think in that way. So let's say you have a team, you bring that team into a room and you want to invite, say, like you said, males to have more empathy. When you have an open discussion and you allow some other people to show their empathy, it inspires people. When you recognize empathy, it inspires people. But that doesn't mean that in empathy you will say, chalo, you didn't meet your ROI, or you didn't meet your goal and everything is okay. You're never going to say that. Empathy is a skill in action, whereas an ROI is a goal. They're two different things. Does that make sense?
Changing the goal. You are using, I mean, empathy is going to help you to achieve your goal.
It's a tool actually.
You could have empathy for somebody's difficult time, and then, but if everybody is looking at the same goal, even they recognize it that okay, I'm going to have enough time to do what I'm doing because it's coming from empathy. But we all together are trying to produce this by 1st of December. So you maintain it.
Yeah,
Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
No, I agree with that. I was just saying these are two different things.
Oh, I love marrying two different things.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Any more questions?
It would also be great to have some perspective from men if they want to share.
Hi, thank you. So my name is Nand Kishore. I'm from Zico, working with Kanchan. So over 20 years of experience in the technology field in itself, and I'm a father of a daughter as well. So and very beautiful wife, of course. So kind of see how I see that women have like the talent that they have. It's like abundance, right? And the thought that the deep that they have, it's like abundance. So I don't think any challenge that, like while I met with Kanchan just a year back, and how we can take Zikr to the growth to the next level, and the energy, the synergies, a lot to learn as a man. So kudos to you, Kanchan, and then taking this forward. So I think like the question about empathy, it's about like I would say that the understanding is very important, and having a common goal where we want to reach through. It's that is actually, if it is sorted out, I think empathy is always there, just to making sure that we have the right alignment to understanding where we want to go together.
Sure?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great thought. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing.
I just want to use this platform to say two things very
please.
quickly. Tech is a wonderful space. It's revolutionizing the world. We've seen it, the way it is disrupting. Now with Gen AI, you're seeing a lot of these buzzwords are there and all of that. While at a distance they will sound scary. Oh, what is AI? What is Gen AI? What is this? What is that? Engineering terms. There are a lot of terms. It's full of terms and acronyms and all of that. But once you enter the space, it's full of richness. It's full of magic. So to all the women out there, to all the girls out there, to everybody out there, I would really encourage to step forward, take the leap of faith and move into this space. It is the one that can actually create a big disruptor in the industry, and we are on the realm of it. We are sitting just in the center of it, and it's for us to take it forward. So with that, I'll just leave the thought here.
You want to leave a few thoughts?
Yeah, a couple of them. I think as a community, in tech, in leadership, in working, in collaboration, we need to move beyond ourselves, beyond conscious and unconscious biases. There's a reason they're called unconscious biases. You're not conscious to them. But when you lean back on your own, even women have unconscious biases. Mostly, what I've found is we, and this time I'm talking about gender, come in our own way. We have unconscious biases vis-a-vis ourselves. I've heard things like, women don't help each other. Sure, I've read many books. Women do help each other. Get beyond the bias, you'll be amazed with the amount of help you'll find. Looking for the optimal person to fit a role. Roles are not gender-based. However, they do have an aim and an objective, and that's sometimes determined by gender. I am going to too close say something after being so neutral. When I really want something done against time, I do ask a woman, and there's a reason for it. Women multitask in their sleep. They will give up their own food to feed their children, and if they like you as much as they like their child, they will do anything for you. They will extend themselves to do things they have never learned to do before. They will put themselves out. They won't talk about what they did, but they will swim when they don't know how to swim. So on that note, definitely, there's lots of space for women, and till everybody starts recognizing them, we're really happy working with them.
Yeah, we have the power to change the world, so please do.
Thank you, Kanchan. Thank you, Subhani. I think we really got to know a lot of things from a tech perspective and from senior counsel's point of view. I just want to add on to everything that we have discussed, that while we are discussing women in leadership, the idea is that, you know, the benefits of this digital revolution should reach everybody, irrespective of gender and geography. That's the whole idea, and that's what we are trying to achieve here. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And I mean, it was really great and inspiring thoughts which we had from you today. Yeah, so beauty with brains, I would say that. So thank you so much, our esteemed panelists, and I would request you to please join us for a quick photograph.